Hi everybody, Claudia here with Healthy Treasures. Today I'm showing you one of my money-saving and healthy recipes that I make on a monthly basis. What that recipe is chicken broth. I love to make it because I just make a whole bunch of it at one time. I put it in 8 different quart jars, and I'm able to use the chicken broth for a variety of things. So we use it to make cream of chicken soup, and I'll show you how to do that. It's so easy, quick, and you can make all sorts of delicious meals with that. So cream of chicken soup, we use it for gravies, we use it as a base for so many different soups and meals. It can be used for a variety of things, and I always get 2 whole chickens, and my favorite type of chicken is the free-range organic chickens, but they're pretty expensive. So if we're on a budget, I just get Costco's whole chickens, and they always come in a 2-pack, and they're, where I'm at, they range from about, I'd say about $13 to $14. So that's $13 to $14 for 2 whole chickens, and so $13 to $14 for 8 quart jars that you're able to use for 8 different meals. It really comes away as a money-saving food, and it's good for us. Chicken broth is good for us for a variety of reasons. It's full of minerals. It helps strengthen the immune system. It's good for any part of our body that has to do with collagen. So our mucous membranes, there's a whole list of stuff. I have it right here. So our joints, our tendons, our ligaments, our skin, and our bones, and of course our digestive system. The collagen, it contains 2 specific amino acids that are very healing to the digestive system. So you know how people like to drink chicken broth when they're sick? That may be a reason why, is because it's just very healing and soothing to the digestive system, especially when you have something like the flu. So anyway, but it's good for us even if we're not sick. So let's move on, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to create this. I have already rinsed off my 2 whole chickens, and I did purchase these ones from Costco. And I put it in my big large pot. If you don't have a big pot like this, just use 2 different pots, or you can just cook 1 chicken at a time. I filled up my pot most of the way with water, and I'm adding about 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. I do this because, according to Sally Fallon, author of Nourishing Traditions, she says that if you add apple cider vinegar into your chicken broth or chicken stock mixture, it helps draw out or pull out the minerals from the bones as it cooks. So I like to add that in there. I've also read that adding a bay leaf or a few bay leaves help to draw out the minerals and nutrients from the chicken as well. So you can choose to do that if you'd like to. I don't add anything else here. That's it. And I don't add any salt or vegetables or anything like that because I'm using this for a variety of ways. I want to keep it as simple and as basic as possible so that I can change it into something else later on. But now I'm just going to put this on my oven top and put the temperature on high and let it come to a boil. Okay, so my chicken broth is boiling now. I know that part of the chicken isn't completely covered, but there's so much heat being produced there, especially once I put the lid on it, that it is thoroughly cooked. I'm not worried about it. So if you are, make sure yours is covered. But this is how I do it. So it's come to a full boil. I'm going to turn it down to a medium-low temperature, excuse me, and allow it to simmer for about 3 to 4 hours. I put a lid on it, and I never put it on all the way because it just ends up boiling out and all over, making a huge mess. I always just tip it so that heat is just kind of trapped in there. It doesn't evaporate as quickly. And I let it simmer for, like I said, 3 to 4 hours. I check it every now and then to see if it may need a little bit more water. If it does, I just add a couple cups of water or so and just allow it to continue simmering until that 3 to 4 hour mark. Some people even like to cook it longer, 6 to 8 hours, to really draw all those nutrients out. But I've also read in different places that 3 to 4 hours is just fine. So I cook mine for 3 to 4 hours. So I'm going to let that cook. All right, so I've let my chicken cook for 3 to 4 hours, and then I've let it cool down enough so that I can handle it and touch it, because now it is time to separate the meat from the bones. This is my setup. This is how I go about separating the meat from the bones. It's a bit of work, yes, but it's worth it. It is to me anyway. in order to get that nutrition and be able to freeze jars of this stuff and be able to use it for a variety of meals. It's worth it. So this is what I always use for that. I have a cutting board, I have 2 plates, and I have my knife and my fork, and of course the chicken that has been cooled down to about room temperature. So I just start digging in and grabbing chunks of the chicken. It kind of falls apart because it's been cooking for a while, so everything's kind of nice and soft and tender. And I start grabbing chunks, put it here, separate the meat that I want, put the meat on my plate, and then put the remaining leftovers, like the bones and stuff, onto this plate. And I will do that until I'm completely done, and then I'll show you what I do from there on out. And I'm just going to cut up the pieces. Oh, see, there's a bone. We don't want that. I'm going to cut this into some chunks so that it fits into my quart jar. Look through it. Make sure there aren't any bones, and put it on my meat plate. I'm going to go through this and find all the pieces that I want. Continue to do the same thing throughout all of it. If you just want to go through it and make sure you've got all the good stuff, the nice tender meats. Make sure you don't have any chewy pieces in there. I've never liked chewy pieces in my meat. And really, I've always been really picky about my meats, and normally this would have grossed me out having to go through all this and picking out the good meat, but I don't know, we just really like using this. We like the chicken broth, we like how healthy it is, we like how many meals we can use it in, so you just deal with it and you just go through it and get it done. So all of this will probably take me about 10, maybe 15 minutes. Okay, so I'm pretty much done here. I just wanted to mention that near the end of my looking for the meat, I use a slotted spoon to kind of fish out the rest of it, any parts of the chicken that kind of fell off, and see if there's any remaining meat left over on there. And the way that I get rid of the leftover chicken parts that I don't want is I just double bag my garbage can, throw it in there, and then throw it out of my trash can. There's some leftover juice, and I want some of that. That's the stuff that we want. So I'm just pouring it back in. Okay, so now it's time to put the chicken pieces and the chicken broth into my jars. Now, when I used to do this, I noticed that a lot of my jars were cracking and breaking as they were freezing, or as they froze in the freezer. And I found the key to preventing that from happening is just making sure that your chicken broth and the chicken that you're putting in there is basically at room temperature. I think it's the difference in temperature that makes the jar crack. So there's a good little tip for you. So this is what I need. I have my chicken broth over here. I have my plate of chicken pieces. I have 8 quart jar glasses, and the ones with the wide mouth are best because sometimes it's around lunchtime when I decide that I want to pull a jar out, and so it takes a while for it to thaw, and sometimes it isn't completely thawed out, and so it's easier to kind of pick at it with a fork and get it out when it's a wide mouth jar. Okay, along with the jars, I have the lids that belong to them, and I have a funnel, a little sieve, and my fork, and a measuring cup. And the reason why I use this is just to scoop out the broth and put it in the jars. So first thing that I do is I just add the meat, yes, I use my hands, to the jars. I just kind of eyeball it and separate the meat into each jar that I have here. So I'm filling up about maybe a third of the jar full with meat. Sometimes it's more. This looks like it might have been 2 pretty big chickens, and I might actually use 9, maybe 10 jars. So yeah, I think that's about right. So there you have it. All the jars have meat in it now, and now it's time to separate the broth. So I'm going to use my funnel, and I'm going to use a sieve on top of it because there's still little pieces of chicken left in here. So I'm going to do about a cup of the stock or the broth for each one of these. Well, maybe a cup and a half. Okay, maybe about 2 cups. I'm going to go through and just do that to each jar. Okay, so I've added 2 cups of the broth into each jar, and now I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and see, just separate the remaining broth that I have in this pot into the ones that I feel need it, just to cover the meat nice and good. Okay, now I'm going to place the lids on top. All right, so there we have it. We have 8 jars of the chicken broth along with the chicken pieces. Now, if you can tell, it's not full all the way to the top. This is kind of a really condensed chicken broth. So, for instance, when I'm making, what do I make? When I'm making gravies or even chicken, cream of chicken soup, I can take one of these jars and I put it in my pan and I add about 3 to 4 more cups of water to this, and it still has a really rich, deep, good, smooth chicken flavor. So you can add as much water to it as you'd like to. But we use these for a variety of meals. Some of the meals that we like to make are chicken Deboning, that's a really good one. We use a cream of chicken soup with that, and we make chicken noodle soup, and we make this really delicious broccoli and carrot and basil vegetable meal, and it's really delicious. Anyway, I'll show you how to make all those. Those are all coming. But for now, go ahead and have a try at this and see if you like it. And I hope it saves you money, and I hope it helps heal your bodies, heal your digestive systems, and is just a good food to turn to. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I will have more videos coming, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can also visit my blog and take a look around there. There will be a link to that underneath this video if you're watching this from my YouTube channel. And I will see you next time. See ya. Bye. So you want to keep these stored in the freezer, of course, and they store in the freezer for up to months. In the fridge, I'd say maybe 5 to 7 days. So good stuff.